Good morning, and I hope you guys are doing well. I am bringing this video to you guys through Hurricane Milton, so I am trying my best to record before I lose power. Hopefully, I don't lose power, but last time with the last hurricane, I lost power, so I'm trying my best to get in there, make this video before I lose power. Hopefully, not. And I'm praying that everyone is doing well considering everything going on and that you are prepared for whatever may come. So, with that being said, I know last week I did not post any video because let's just say this fourth quarter started out a little rocky for my family. We had a death in the family last minute. So, unfortunately, I was not able to do the recording with all of that was going on. So, but I appreciate your patience and for coming back and tuning in. So today, in light of talking about all this news about getting ready and getting prepared for the hurricane, I wanted to talk about one, getting ready to make sure that you crush this fourth quarter. We are in the wrapping up of 2024 already. We are pretty much, I want to say almost mid October, right? Because next week is the 15th of October. So we're right into the wrap up of the fourth quarter. So I want to know if you are prepared, if you are ready to crush and make sure you reach all of your goals that you had set for yourself for the fourth quarter. And if not, as a sales coach, I wanted to give you 3 things that I think can help you get closer to that goal by getting ready and learning how to prepare and what to keep in mind on a sales call. If this is your first time here, my name is Anne Jean-Pierre. I am a coach and consultant with Better Saleswoman and also host of the Godly Business Podcast, where we discuss sales fundamentals and some biblical principles. So if that sounds interesting to you, please stay around, subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know, how are you preparing for this final quarter of 2024? Now, 2025, we can't predict what's going on. There's a lot of rumors of, recessions and market crash, all of these negativities around what 2025 might bring. So while we cannot predict the future, we could try our best to prepare. And so today I'm going to discuss the 3 tips that I think you should keep in mind when you are on the sales calls and how to get ready on a sales call. So the first thing I want to talk about is understanding your prospect's needs. Now, I want you to think about your prospect based on your prospect's current needs that they are expressing to you. And you do that through active listening. And I mean that because a lot of people are like, okay, yes, I understand what my prospect needs. I listen to my prospect. But what often happens is when the person is speaking, you are waiting to respond. And I want you to stop preparing to respond, especially if you are someone who is trying to just focus on getting them to buy. I want you to try to just focus on really understanding what it is that they are saying. The key to that, again, is active listening. It does 2 things. One, it allows you to really come to understand their language that they are using around their problem, which is going to be handy around the step 2 that I will discuss. But also it helps you to understand too what it is that they really need. So oftentimes a prospect will talk about their problem and the fact that the problem is A, but in you actively listening to them, you realize they're thinking the problem is A, but really the problem is B. And by doing this active listening, you can actually uncover what the real issue is, and then provide a solution to their core problem, which then of course will bring you closer to closing, because you are showing your prospect that you actually understand what it is that they need, right? So how does that look like in real life? So let's say someone is bringing up an issue with the fact, as a personal, let's say you're a coach, right? And they're bringing an issue around, not being able to discuss certain things, not being able to overcome certain challenges. And then you listening to them, you realize, oh, wait a minute, this person has an issue around fear. So in your discussion with them, you help them to understand that it seems like the issue is more a fear-based problem, and we need to address that first, right? So that's what I mean by actively listening and making sure you understand what their problem is in order for you to address it as, whatever you're trying to sell them, and to show them that you really understand what their problem is, right? So that's the first tidbit. Now, the second thing that I would suggest, like I said, and actively listening, and I'm sorry if you hear my chickens outside. I don't know why. They are very, very loud today, and it may be because of the hurricane. So I apologize if somehow you hear them in the background. But the second thing is using their language. So why it's so important to understand the needs why it's so important to actively listen to your prospect is listening to the language that they use around their problem. That is key for multiple reasons, but I'm going to touch on 2 reasons why that is important. The first one is, once you understand their language that they use around their problem or perceived problem, you then are able to use that language to bring them back in and make sure to show them that you actually understand what they're saying, because you're using the language that they're using and showing them that, 1, you are listening, 2, that you understand where they're coming from. Also, using that language in marketing, right? So the perfect thing is, because you are listening and you understand the language, when you are doing your marketing, you are using that same language to speak to the audience that use that language in order for you to bring them in, right? So it's kind of like a call out card, like using that same verbiage that they use in order to speak back to them to bring them into the conversation. So this is why the first step is very important in actively listening. And then the second thing is using their language. You will use their language throughout your sales call process. You will use their language, and the presentation. You will use their language in your offer, and you will use their language in overcoming objections. You will use their language in closing the sale. So this is very, very important to understand why their language, the language that they use, using it back with them allows them to feel more comfortable and knowing that you're listening and that you understand. Okay. So that's the second thing that I would highly suggest you do, is use your clients or your prospects language in order to help close the sale. Now, at this point, I hope you've been listening, actively listening, and taking some tips. So how about you tell me in the comments, what are some of your prospects' language that they use in their conversation? What some of the languages that they constantly use, and how you can use that to bring them closer to closing. So make a list, write them down of their language. So I would encourage you to do that once the video ends. All right. So the third thing, and that you need to keep in mind and very, very much consider. This is also related back to the first thing, is don't assume you know. Don't assume that you understand. So why is that important, and why I started with active listening is because I see this pattern where you, as a salesperson, right? Because we are, if you are an entrepreneur, if you are in business, you're a salesperson. You as a salesperson think that you understand your prospect. Therefore, don't ask clarifying questions, and you don't ask enough questions to dig deeper, and you stay on the surface and make assumptions, and then make your offers, make your presentation, make your suggestions based on your assumption of what you think the problem is, instead of actually discovering and uncovering what the actual problem is. Okay, so that's what I would say is the third thing: to never ever assume what the person's challenges are, but instead to actually focus and actively listen to what it is that they are saying, to understand their language, ask questions. I've talked about this in other videos on how asking questions and getting clarifications can help you tremendously in your sales. Not only does it help you to understand, but it also helps you to overcome objections and take control of the call when you are feeling like the prospect is kind of going left, if that makes sense. Asking certain questions bring them back on track to where you want them to be. So do not make assumptions that you understand. And even if you do understand, I still say ask questions, because it also helps you to make sure that, one, you understand, two, that the prospect is engaging with you and that you are leading them and they feel comfortable being led, because you are taking the time to really understand what it is their problem is. I don't know if you've ever been to a doctor where, or at least it has been my experience, where I go to a doctor and I can tell they're not listening to what I'm saying. They just feel like they know exactly what it is. Oh yeah, it's this, and I'm like, you don't even know my symptoms. You didn't even take the time to get to know me. And you really notice the difference between that doctor when you have a doctor that actually takes the time to get to know you, to ask you a bunch of questions and pull your records and keep asking those things, right? So you feel more comfortable and more confident in that doctor, because they like, hey, I'm taking the time to really make sure I understand what it is that you're going through in order for me to find the best to diagnose the problem properly. Right? So this is why I say do not make assumptions, because you're like, hey, I see two symptoms, so therefore it is what it is, right? Making sure that you help to build that confidence in yourself, to help the prospect build confidence in you and the product that you offer, or service that you offer, because you have taken the time to ask them questions that now they feel like, okay, this person actually cares and they actually understand where I'm coming from and what my needs are. So those are the three things that I would highly suggest that you prepare for in going into the fourth quarter, and making sure that you are, getting the tools that you need in order for you to close your sales. Now, of course, by now, October is already here. So I want to challenge you to join the 5 days sales call challenge if you have not done so already. It closes on October 21st. Okay. The early bird special is over. I'm sorry if you didn't sign up by the 30th for it, but you are still able to register for the 5-day challenge. The 5-day challenge goes from the 21st, that Monday, through that Friday. We'll meet every day at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we will discuss the 5 steps into learning how to close, how to ask proper questions, how to introduce your offer, how to overcome objections, how to ask for the sale. So those 5 days will be packed with a lot of information and a lot of practice. Yes, you will practice sales calls in order for you to get the skills you need and try to crush the fourth quarter this year, and of course start on a great note, because now you will have the skills in order for you to succeed. So if you have not signed up for the 5-day sales calls challenge, please sign up. The link will be in the description box. And that is it for me. I'm hoping to see you on the inside. Be prepared if you are in Florida. I am definitely praying for you, as I am also in Florida. So I'm praying for you guys to be safe. I pray that God will keep you and protect you. And as always, He will guide you, teach you, and counsel you in the way that you should go. Thank you again for being here. And I appreciate you guys. I will see you guys next week. Bye.